Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 97 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. I've got a real mess on my hands this week, and if you want to see how I deal with it, all you have to do is stay tuned. Well, the mess I'm referring to is the cast iron top on my table saw. I've got this saw here. This is my old contractor saw, piled up with pen turning stuff because I had my last class with students today before Christmas. It was a lot of fun. They're a wonderful group, and I'm going to be posting pictures of some of the projects on Instagram, RLDR Custom Creations as well. But I can't post all of them because some of them are Christmas presents, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise. So, but anyway, back to my dilemma here. I've got this cast surface, there's a cast surface there, and a steel surface behind me here. And this is the worst one, but can you see the rust and the finish and all the stuff on here? I have abused this top. I'm not proud of this. This should not look like this. I had some wet pine that I set down on here, and it stayed for a couple of days, and of course, that's all it takes. And this is a real mess. And in today's video, I'm going to go through a couple of ways that I've seen people clean tops like this, but then I'm going to show you the way I do it, and it's not all that different from what a lot of other people do, because finally getting rust off is a matter of some penetrating lubricant and abrasion, however you decide to do it. So I'm going to go through it. I guess the only thing that I'd add to that discussion is there is a bit of a safety element in this as well. And we haven't been using this saw much. In fact, I've been the only one running it. So I tend to, and I shouldn't do it, but I tend to run equipment that I wouldn't let my students run. So I'm going to clean this up today and get it nice and shiny. And another problem I have, another dilemma, and I'm hoping to bring you guys along for the ride on this, is my little table saw section here is a mess. And being a large horizontal surface in the shop, it attracts all kinds of things that shouldn't be put on it. And I see in other shops the same thing happen. So I'm going to try to get the usable pieces that I need to install put on this, so they're not cluttering up my shop. And the other thing that this surface is going to have to do, and I really found it blatantly obvious with the last group of 6 students that I had, is when we were assembling their small furniture projects, we didn't have enough space to do it. So I want to eventually use this area here as a work surface as well, so that my students can assemble their smaller projects, or I can maybe assemble a cabinet or whatever on here as well. I think what I'm going to do with that, though, is I'm pretty sure I'm going to buy a sheet of thin OSB, maybe 5/16 or quarter if a guy can get it. I've never seen it that thin. 3/8 is the thinnest I've seen in our lumber yards. And cut panels that fit over some of these surfaces to protect them while we work on them. Because some of this is me putting finish on the shelves for my bathroom medicine cabinet. And by the way, my bathroom still isn't quite done. So yeah, it's been a busy fall. I've been teaching and been doing other things. And now that teaching is done until February, I am going to try to focus on getting a few other things done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you in a little closer, and we're going to come back here, and I am going to show you what I do to clean this. And we'll be right back. All right, and I've got you on the tripod, but a little closer to the table saw than I had you before. Okay, some of it you can see about what I've done already. First of all, I masked off the top, because I've got melamine and arborite surfaces and some natural wood back there. and I don't want to abrade that. So I covered up with masking tape. That might help a little bit. I'm not sure how much that's going to help, but we're going to try it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the whole surface with this razor blade. There are some stains on here from various things. And I'm just going to make sure that all the lumps are off. That's starting to feel better already. And actually, with a really good blade, it almost seems to take some of the rust off with it as well. This is disgraceful. I should have never let it get this bad. This table saw's had quite a history with me. This was the first major tool I ever bought. I bet it was 40 years ago that I bought this saw. Oops, gotta watch that. Okay, here I'm coming up to some of the major rust. See, I can even get some of this off with the razor blade. There, that's coming nicely. Good start. Okay, now we're on the other side. And like I said, was getting some wood in for my students. And I had some wet. The wood is dry, but the boards came out of the snow and had some moisture on them. And I just didn't get them moved in time. As much as I'd like to blame somebody else for this, oops, so much for the tape, I guess. I can't blame anybody else for the condition of this top. But a good scrape really helps, I think, get the surface stuff off. And I had a broom here. There it is. Sorry to go off camera here, but I didn't put the broom back where it should be. Oh, and by the way, the saw is unplugged while I'm doing this, so that's another thing that's going to happen here eventually is I'm going to wire this saw in a bit more permanently than I have right now. Okay, now that I got rid of the shaft, I can feel where I need to do more. I watched a little bit of video on how others do this as well, and I appreciate that people are willing to share what they're doing. And some of the shops that I viewed, they were working shops, you could tell. Sometimes on YouTube, I think sometimes maybe I'm looking at a studio rather than a working shop. So anyway, I think that's going to be good for now. So I'm going to spray this down with penetrant. And very common, oops, move the camera, WD-40 is very common. It works good. There are some other things that I've never tried it, but I don't know how brake cleaner would work. I don't think I'm going to try it today because I have something in mind that I want to try. The lithium grease, not really something that I'd want to use. However, for what I'm going to do today, whoops, too much stuff here. Sorry about that. This little WD-40, it's a rust release penetrant spray. I'm going to use that today. I've never used it before. I tried a wee little area yesterday and it seemed to work really good. So I'm going to spray this on. I bought this, I think this came with another can at Princess Auto. So I'm assuming they still sell it. And if it works really good on this, I am going to go and purchase some more. I'll have enough to do this top, but not a whole lot more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this on, get a good heavy layer on everything, and then I'm going to go in for supper and let it soak. Yeah, this saw has been abused over the course of its lifetime with moving from place to place. We have never moved far because I've always lived in this community, but we've moved a few times. So, and then I often didn't have a proper place to put tools, and this thing sat in places where it shouldn't. Okay, I have just enough. I'm going to go back and get that one place there, but this can is now empty. So I managed to get a video shot and use up a can. It doesn't have to go back on the shelf anymore. But so that's it for now. So we've got the table soaking, and I'm going to leave it soak over supper. So it's what, about 5:30 now? I'll be back out about 7, and then we'll start abrading it. Okay, I'll be back. All right, well, it's been about 2 hours since I've let this soak, and I zoomed you in a little bit closer. We're going to attempt to work on this little section here. Now, one of the tools that I commonly see used to do this is a wire wheel. We're going to try that first. See how this goes. I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on and have a bit of an angle on it. So let's see how that worked out. It's going to take, well, that didn't do too bad. That's not bad at all. So the wire wheel is one of the methods that seems to work pretty good. Next, I'm going to take my oscillating tool with a sanding head on it, and this is 120 grit paper. And the reason I'm using this is I've used my palm sanders in the past, and I don't like what the slurry that's whipped up by sanding on the metal does to the base of my sander. And so this thing I don't really care about at all. Like, it's kind of, and the sandpaper came with my King oscillating tool, which no longer works. And it's, to me, it's not very good paper. So I'm going to use it for this. So let's give this a try. Okay, let's try that. Well, I don't know. To me, an initial look, that looks better. I think that does a superior job of removing. Now, I don't know. There are lots of videos out there. People will start sanding at the much higher grits, like 400 to 600 grit, and I don't know, for a table like this, I think with 400 grit, this would take me a week of solid polishing to get that all off. So 100, this is 120 grit. I've done these before with 100 grit, and I'm okay with that. The wire wheel has a different, leaves a, I can more accurately see the initial machine tool um, markings on this deck. So maybe the wire wheel is an easier way on the casting. I'm not sure. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep trying this oscillating tool and keep changing paper, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm just going to do a little bit more. I'm going to try to maybe focus in this area here and see what I can make that look like. Okay, let's see what we got. I'm not spending super long on each section here, so well, you know what? That actually seems to work not too bad. I think the other thing that you're going to need to have handy is lots of paper towel to take the penetrant and metal slurry off the table. Well, that's definitely a big improvement. It's not perfect yet. I have a feeling what I'm going to end up doing with this is going over it, and I need to change paper already too, I can tell. I'll go over it once and get it as clean as I can, and then soak it again and do it again. So I think that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to continue cleaning this. I don't think you need to be watching the hour that I'm doing that. So we're going to turn the camera off now, and I'm going to work on this, and hopefully I'll get you back when I have at least this first clean done. Okay, see you later. Well, there it is. It's pretty much exactly 1 hour later. I used a whole mess of cloth here, 7 of these sanding pads, and I don't know. It's not bad. I just messed it up again when I rubbed it with an unclean towel. Here, I'll get a cleaner one and just go over that again. Okay. Brake cleaner doesn't really work. I tried a little area, didn't work. The 3-in-1 lithium grease, also not terribly effective. I didn't expect it to be. I just used it because I had it here. It's more of a lubricant, not a penetrant. But I did use up my whole can, that little can, of this stuff here. This is what I soaked the table with first. I'm going to buy another can of this because I think this has potential. But in the end, I just used tried and true WD-40. And I just kept it well lubricated, wiped it off to try to get the slurry clean, and that's what I did. Now, one of the things I did, I mentioned in the video that I started sanding with 120 grit pads. Well, some of this was so caked on that I brought out the big guns. I went with some 80. Now, this isn't very good paper in my opinion, and the edge wore off really quickly. So now I don't know if there's a big problem with sanding with too coarse a grit. One thing I did notice though is, I don't know if you can see it here, like this has pretty aggressive milling marks from when this table saw was new. But I did put some light scratch in here. So, like I said when I started this video, that I would probably go over it once, and then I'll leave it sit for a couple of days, and then I'm going to go over it again and get it clean. Now, in the end, I'm going to cover it with, or seal it with Glide Coat. I don't know if I'm going to continue to use Glide Coat in the future. It's really gotten quite expensive. I just happen to have a little bit left over from a long time ago, so this can's just about done. So I think that's what I'm going to do is do that. But I think the bigger picture here is, for myself, I need to get better at keeping this clean and not letting it get so dirty to begin with. So that means I've got to be more vigilant with when I bring lumber into the shop, especially when it's been outside in winter. I need to be more careful. The rust on this side here, those two big patches, excuse me, was really hard to get out. I worked hard. Yeah, it's been about an hour, and I put in, like, if I would have had to do this with 400 or 600 grit paper, oh my goodness, I'd rather sand out a few little scratches. Whether I compromise the flatness of the table, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to make itself apparent to me. So I'm okay with what I did. And if there are people in the comments that say I've done something heinously wrong, well, tell me. Everybody can learn from this. But that's what it took an hour. This, I don't know, it's about, well, I don't know, maybe we'll have to just measure, see how big that actually is. So this tabletop is 22 by 37. So roughly 6 square feet. 2 times 3, yeah, roughly 6 square feet. So, and I still have to do the bottom of the slides yet too. Those I haven't done. I'll have to put some sandpaper on a block and then take care of those. But my goal is, as we head into the new year, this whole table saw area, it's a disaster today. We use it for a table with my pen turning groups, and it's a mess. So we're going to clean that off and get it looking proper again. So anyway, I think that's basically all I have to show you now. Let's get ready and close off this video. Well, there it is. It's still got some residue on it. My hands are still dirty. I'm going to see if I have time tomorrow. Come back in here and give it another light dusting with the old WD-40 and maybe a finer pad now that I have most of the carnage dealt with. There are some scratches in here that are just from use. This table saw is, oh shoot, every bit of 40 years old. So yeah, it was the first tool I ever bought, and that's why I still have it. But yeah, why the concern about having it clean? Well, first of all, I think clean, things slide a little bit better. Whether it's a safety issue or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, having things rusty, having big goobers of finish on it, those are problems that can affect your feed when you're using it, and I get that. For me, it's a problem where I have to communicate to people who come into my shop, whether it's my young students and I try to have their parents in as much as we can, because I want them to see what their students are learning and what we're achieving here, because I think these skills are absolutely super important to the development of our youth. So, but I feel terribly embarrassed when, they walk by my table saw and it looks like it sat outside for 10 years. And right now my shop is always a mess. And that is something that's going to change. I need to get a bit more organized. There are some systems in here that I need to finish. And now that the new year is coming, and I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of teaching in January, so I'm going to try to use some of that time to get projects like dust collection a little further. I got to start on airlines one of these days too. That's going to happen yet. I have everything for it. And we're going to make sure that we get our fence hooked up to that second router table or third router table, and we're going to clean the other cast surfaces, and then we're going to polish the middle here, and we're going to make this nice so when people walk into the shop, they see, oh, that looks good, instead of, oh, look at all the crap everywhere. So anyway, with that in mind, that brings this video to a close. This is 97, so we'll do 98 on the weekend, and then next week we'll do 2 videos, maybe one before and one after Christmas, and then I'm at 100. So I have some decisions to make then. We'll do a video on that, I'm sure. But yeah, so we'll see how that all works out, and have a very, very good holiday season. Be careful, be kind, be wonderful to each other, and we will see you on the next video.